Picture this. You hold a smooth black stone in your palm and turn it over 3 times. In the silence, a ghostly figure steps from the shadows. Someone you loved and lost, returned from the grave. Your heart leaps. It feels like a miracle until you notice something is very wrong. The figure's eyes are sorrowful, their form pale and flickering. They seem distant, as if separated by an invisible veil. This is no true resurrection, just a cruel imitation of life. And, as you reach out, desperation twisting inside you, the figure whispers your name with longing. Welcome to the dark origin story of the Resurrection Stone, a cautionary tale from the wizarding world of Harry Potter. This isn't just a ghost story. The stone in your hand is the fabled Resurrection Stone, one of the legendary Deathly Hallows. It was said to give its bearer the power to recall the dead. Of the 3 Hallows, the stone's gift sounds the most wondrous, and the most terrible. Its promise of reunion comes with a deadly price. To understand why, we must go back to the beginning, to the legend that birthed this dark enchantment. According to an old wizarding fairy tale, the tale of the 3 brothers, 3 cunning brothers, once cheated death. In response, death itself appeared and offered each brother a reward for evading their fate. The first brother demanded the Elder Wand, an unbeatable wand of power. The third brother asked for a way to hide from death, and received the Cloak of Invisibility. But it was the second brother whose request would unleash tragedy. He wanted to humiliate death further, by undoing its greatest act. He asked for the power to bring back the dead. In the tale, this second brother, known in lore as Cadmus Peverell, had lost the woman he loved. For his prize, he demanded nothing less than a reunion with her soul. So Death reached down and picked up a small black stone from the riverbank. "Turn this thrice in hand," Death told him, "and you will have what you seek." The second brother left with the Resurrection Stone, overjoyed and oblivious to the grim trick that had been played. Cadmus hurried home, heart pounding with hope. That night, he pulled out the stone, and turned it thrice in his hand. To his astonishment and delight, a figure appeared before him. The girl he had once hoped to marry, returned from death. Imagine that flood of emotion, someone you lost, standing right there, eyes shining once more. Cadmus thought he had achieved the impossible. But the joy did not last. What came back was not truly of the living. The young woman was a mere shadow, caught between worlds. She looked at Cadmus with sadness. Though she was present in a way, she did not belong in the mortal world. In the flicker of lamplight she appeared cold, distant, separated from Cadmus by a grave that could not truly be undone. The legend says the second brother grew anguished as he realized she could never stay, never really live again. Driven mad with longing, he took his own life, so that he could join his beloved in death properly. In that moment, the Resurrection Stone fell from his hand and was lost. Death's bargain had come full circle. Cadmus's attempt to conquer death led him straight into its arms. Thus, in its very first appearance in history, the Resurrection Stone revealed its dark nature. Instead of a miracle, it gave a mockery of life, a comfort that poisoned into despair. The dead returned by the stone were not meant to be here, and their presence brought the living nothing but pain. The stone's origin is literally a tale of caution, a wizard who couldn't accept loss, and the lethal consequences of trying to undo death. For many years the tale of the 3 brothers was just a story, a myth told to young witches and wizards at bedtime. But here's the twist. The story was true. The Deathly Hallows were real objects, and the 3 brothers from the tale were actual people. Cadmus Peverell did exist centuries ago, and so did his 2 brothers, Antioch and Ignotus. Each Hallow from the story passed into our world. And the Resurrection Stone that Cadmus carried, the stone that caused his downfall, was not buried with him. It lived on, continuing a dark journey of its own. After Cadmus's tragic end, the Resurrection Stone was hidden inside a simple gold ring. Generations later, that ring became an heirloom of the Gaunt family, descendants of the Peverells. By then, the stone's true identity had faded into legend. The Gaunts knew only that the ring's black stone was engraved with a strange symbol, a triangle, circle, and line, which they believed to be the Peverell coat of arms. They wore it with pride, bragging of their pure blood lineage, never realizing the dark power that slept inside. Perhaps it was just as well. The Gaunts were unstable and cruel. Had they understood the stone's capability, they might have inflicted untold horror trying to use it. The Gaunt family dwindled, but the ring endured, tucked away in their ramshackle house, whispering its secrets to no one. That is, until a young man named Tom Riddle arrived. Riddle, who would become Lord Voldemort, was the last living descendant of Cadmus Peverell, though he cared nothing for family legacy beyond his own ambitions. In the early 1940s, Tom came across his uncle Morfin Gaunt and saw the ring on Morfin's finger. The moment Riddle learned of the ring's lineage, he coveted it. Not for the resurrection stone within. Tom Riddle had no loved ones to resurrect, and his heart was far too cold to mourn the dead, but because he hungered for any artifact that could make him stronger or more unique. Tom Riddle stole the ring and promptly vanished, leaving the Gaunt shack forever. In his hands, the resurrection stone took on a new, wicked purpose. Voldemort was obsessed with defying death in his own way. Not by bringing back others, but by ensuring he could never die. To achieve immortality, he created Horcruxes, foul magical objects housing fragments of his soul, and the Peverell ring, carrying the ancient stone, became one of those Horcruxes. Voldemort murdered his own father to fracture his soul, and sealed a piece of it inside the ring. In doing so, he cast a deadly curse upon it, to protect it from anyone who might try to take it. The resurrection stone, once meant to reunite a grieving lover with his lost bride, was now a cursed talisman, a trap set by the darkest wizard who ever lived. For decades, the ring lay hidden in the ruins of the Gaunt home, forgotten by history. But the legend of the Deathly Hallows was not entirely lost. One wizard in particular had devoted years to studying these mysteries, Albus Dumbledore. By a twist of fate, Dumbledore eventually discovered evidence of the Gaunt ring and realized what it truly was. Imagine his astonishment and excitement. After a lifetime of seeking the Hallows, here was the resurrection stone, the most elusive Hallow, right before his eyes at last. But that excitement would prove dangerous. When Dumbledore found the ring, he saw beyond the crude gold band and recognized the symbol on the stone. He knew this was a Deathly Hallow, the resurrection stone of legend. Yet even armed with knowledge, Dumbledore was vulnerable to the stone's temptation. This brilliant, aged wizard, who had guided so many through their grief, was himself carrying a burden of heartbreak and guilt. He had lost his little sister and his mother in his youth, and the weight of those tragedies had never left him. In that moment of discovery, all Dumbledore's wisdom gave way to yearning. He thought of his family, of the apologies unsaid, and mistakes unforgotten. If there was even a chance the stone could bring him face to face with his loved ones for a moment, how could he resist? Albus Dumbledore picked up the ring and put it on, attempting to use the resurrection stone. In the instant he did, disaster struck. The curse that Voldemort had laid upon the ring burst forth, searing Dumbledore's hand with fatal dark magic. Pain shot through him. His vision burned. Dumbledore had just enough strength to wrench the ring off and contain the curse before it killed him on the spot. His hand was left blackened and dead-looking, as if withered by some ghastly disease. Though Dumbledore managed to destroy the Horcrux inside the ring, the curse on his arm was slowly spreading. It was a death sentence. He had, at most, a year left to live. In his folly, Dumbledore, one of the greatest wizards of all time, was nearly destroyed by the resurrection stone's dark legacy. He survived, but at a terrible cost. Reflecting on it later, he admitted that his own unchecked longing had overpowered his common sense. In that fleeting moment he lost his head and forgot the deadly danger attached to the ring. Like Cadmus Peverell so many centuries before, Albus Dumbledore was seduced by the idea of seeing a lost loved one again, and he paid for that desire in agony. Knowing his time was short, Dumbledore made arrangements to prevent the stone from claiming yet another victim. He pried the resurrection stone out of the ring and hid it cleverly inside a golden snitch, the very snitch that Harry Potter had caught in his first Quidditch match years before. Dumbledore enchanted the snitch with a message, "I open at the close," and willed it to Harry, hoping that when Harry eventually discovered the stone, he would use it wisely, if at all. For a while the snitch stayed closed, the stone locked away inside it as Harry and his friends hunted Voldemort's Horcruxes. It wasn't until Harry was about to face what he believed would be his own death that the mystery finally clicked. During the Battle of Hogwarts, Harry learned that he must sacrifice himself to defeat Voldemort. He was the final Horcrux, and he had to die to end Voldemort's immortality. Resolved to give up his life, Harry walked into the Forbidden Forest to meet Voldemort. As he went, the snitch in his pocket suddenly revealed its secret. "I open at the close." The close, the end. Harry realized the close meant the end of his life, now imminent. With trembling hands he brought the snitch to his lips. It opened, and inside lay the small black resurrection stone, glimmering darkly. Harry could feel the weight of it. Not just the physical weight, but the heaviness of all the sorrow and hope attached to this tiny stone over centuries. Here he was, about to die, carrying the very object that so many had wasted their lives longing for. Harry, who had lost almost everyone he cared about, certainly understood the desire to see loved ones again. And in this final hour, he made a choice on how to use the stone's power. He didn't attempt to cheat death or call anyone back fully. Instead, Harry turned the resurrection stone thrice in his hand simply to comfort himself as he walked towards sacrifice. All around him, familiar figures appeared silently out of the trees. James and Lily Potter, his parents, stepped forward with gentle smiles. Sirius Black, the godfather he adored, nodded in encouragement. Remus Lupin, recently lost in battle, stood strong and proud. These spirits were calm and loving. They did not truly live again, but they came to accompany Harry so he wouldn't be alone at the very end. "Stay close to me," Harry pleaded quietly. "Always." "His mother spirit replied. Protected by love and bolstered by their presence, Harry Potter found the courage to do what Cadmus Peverell could not: accept death. He walked into the clearing, and allowed Voldemort to strike him with the killing curse, surrendering his life for the greater good. In that brave act, Harry fulfilled the true legacy of the Hallows, not by avoiding death, but by meeting it on his own terms, as the third brother in the tale did. The resurrection stone slipped from Harry's fingers as he fell. Harry later returned from the brink of death, through an ancient magic tied to his sacrifice, but the stone remained lost on the forest floor. And crucially, Harry never went back to look for it. He left the resurrection stone where it fell, ensuring that its troubled story would finally come to an end. By abandoning the stone, Harry broke the cycle of obsession and allowed the dead to rest unfettered. In the aftermath, he even dropped the Elder Wand, and kept the invisibility cloak, but lived without using it. In essence, Harry possessed all three Hallows, yet claimed mastery over none. Unlike so many before him, he was wise enough not to be seduced by the lure of absolute power, or the false hope of resurrecting the dead. Over the centuries of its existence, the resurrection stone brought nothing but heartache, despite its enchantment. From Cadmus Peverell's self-destruction, to the Gaunt family's downfall, to Voldemort's deadly curse, to Dumbledore's fatal mistake, every attempt to exploit the stone's magic ended in suffering. The only time it provided any semblance of peace was when it was used not to defy death, but to help someone find the strength to accept death. And perhaps that is the only good that ever came of it. The dark origin of the resurrection stone carries a stark warning. It was born from a wizard's unchecked longing, Cadmus's inability to let go of the past, and it became a symbol of the dangerous temptation to subvert nature's most sacred law. It teaches us that even in a world of magic, some boundaries should never be crossed. Love and loss are intimately entwined. Trying to resurrect what is gone can unravel the living in the process.